got Sugar Sean O'Malley, man. You're on fire. Thank you for your time. I really appreciate it.
Yes, sir. How's it going?
Good, man. So, out of all places, you're from Montana.
Yep, from
Now,
Montana.
what's it like growing up in Montana?
Uh, I mean, obviously, it kind of felt normal just because I was the only place I ever grew up. So it just felt, it was small town. Um, Played a lot of sports, football, basketball, soccer, baseball, all year round. We were doing something, and yeah, just pretty much competed my entire life. That's all I kind of remember as far as my childhood. Didn't really like school. Yeah, just played sports pretty much.
And then your father was a narcotic officer, right?
Yeah.
Now,
Yep.
what's it like growing up with your father being a narcotic officer?
Uh, I don't know. It just was normal. Yeah, I don't know. It was just kind of felt like a normal. It was normal to me.
Now, did you train martial arts, things like that in high school?
I started kickboxing when I was 16, so that was probably like freshman, sophomore-ish year. Started kickboxing and really liked it. Was naturally good at it. Um, and you didn't really, it wasn't associated with school, so you didn't have to get good grades to play like basketball, football. You had to get good grades, and I didn't really like going to school, so your grades aren't too good, you're not allowed to play sports. So that's kind of where I started getting into kickboxing. It wasn't required to get good grades.
And then you trained at MMA Lab. What makes that so special there? Like, why is that such a special place to be training at?
Yeah, I moved to Phoenix when I was 19 years old, trained at the lab. Tim, who's my coach right now, my best friend, he had already moved down to Arizona before I had met him. So he moved down here and was trained down here at a good gym. Benson Henderson was champ. They had a couple of guys in the UFC. Really, Arizona just in general is the mecca for training. There's so many gyms out here, so many good guys out here. But the MMA Lab has a really good program. John Crouch, the head coach, he's really good at making sure people show up and get to work. So yeah, moving here when I was 19 and really started learning MMA more. It's more so rather than just kind of like kickboxing. And yeah, it was super important for my career.
And then your first fight, you never had any wrestling training or anything like that, right?
My first fight was my
MMA
first fight
fight,
was
yeah.
kickboxing fight.
I mean
My
MMA.
first
I'm
MMA
sorry.
fight, yeah,
Yeah.
my first MMA fight when I was 18. Yeah, I didn't really know how to wrestle. I didn't really learn how to wrestle until I moved down to Arizona.
And how important is it to? Because you don't, when you watch MMA, UFC, you don't. I don't really think of like the wrestling end of it, but how important is it to really be good at that or have a good grasp of it?
If you can't wrestle, you're not going to make it in the UFC. You're not going to last very long. You have to be able to wrestle. You have to be able to grapple, and you have to be able to do it at a very high level, which I'm capable of doing now. Which the last 5 years I've completely dedicated my life to just grappling, and it's paid off big time. And it's important considering I'm in the best division in the UFC,
Yeah.
in my opinion, the bantamweight division, and the top 5, 6 guys in that division are very heavy grapplers. So, but yeah, it's very important to be able to wrestle and grapple at a high level.
And is that the hardest thing to train? Is the wrestling like out of everything that you have to train? I mean, it's a ton of shit because you guys can do everything. Would you say that's the toughest
Yeah.
thing?
Yeah, for sure. It's the toughest, but it's the most fun. Like that's what I just got done doing this morning was grappling. It's probably my favorite training. It's definitely the hardest on the body. Yeah, it's the hardest on the body. It's the most tiring part of fighting, and but I've learned to love it. I used to not like it at all. I used to hate it. But I learned to love it because that's what I had to do every day. And yeah.
And how is your conditioning? Like, you watch boxing, but that's a whole different ball game. This is totally different. I used to box. We used to watch boxing all the time, but this is some shit. What's your diet like? What's the training like? How much are you like? How much cardio do you do? And then how careful do you have to be to not overtrain before a big fight? I mean, you're at the highest level right now, so if you overtrain and you're in there tired, you know, you might have some problems.
Yeah, I mean, it's starting with the diet. I have a nutritionist, Dan Garner, who in my opinion, is the best in the world. He's a scientist when it comes to this stuff. We do a bunch of blood work every year. A couple times a year, we'll do blood work, saliva, stool. We've done hair samples. We've done everything possible that he can analyze and make sure that I'm eating perfect, especially in fight camp, supplementing where what I need to. And so as far as dieting goes, I eat pretty good all year round. I've learned to, I used to only eat good in fight camp, and then you eat shitty outside of fight camp, then you get injured. So right now, I eat good all year round. I have meal prep company that makes all my meals. Diane Garner's in touch with them, and they communicate, make my meals. So that's pretty much, I'm dialed in there. As far as cardio goes, a lot of, it's tricky. Cardio, like you do cardio. Like, I basically did cardio this morning, wrestling and grappling, and it's hard to, it's easiest to do the cardio in the sport you're doing, but I definitely do sprints like on treadmill, aerodyne sprints. You supplement cardio from what you can't get training. But yeah, cardio is king. You get tired, doesn't matter how good you are. You're tired, you're fatigued, you start lacking in your skills. So yeah, cardio's king. Yeah, you get most of it just doing the actual training, sparring, grappling, and yeah, it's a lot different than boxing. Fighting is the most tiring sport in the world.
Yeah. And how much weights? How much weights do you lift every day, or are you going heavy, or are you going light?
I lift twice a week. Tuesdays, Thursdays, I lift, and it is important to lift and be strong, especially my frame. I'm a taller, skinnier guy, and a lot of these guys I'm fighting 5'6", 5'7", are super strong. So, they're different strengths. I got leverage, but yeah, Tuesday and Thursday I lift. Sometimes it's heavy. It's hard. When you start lifting heavy, you risk injury if you're not doing it 100% correct. That's where I'm lucky to have a strength and conditioning coach, Brandon Harris, who's got me dialed in, making sure, he kind of helps me run my camps as far as like, all right, this day we're going to make sure we hit this day we're going to make sure, our heart rate doesn't get too high. It's going to be a lower day, a little bit more active recovery. But yeah, definitely lifting and definitely making sure you got to be strong, especially, some of these guys like the current champ right now, Aljamain Sterling, who is super strong. And then you got Marab, and you got some really strong guys in the division. So yeah, definitely got to make sure I'm lifting and getting stronger.
So it's almost like with UFC, with boxing, I should say, you can have a coach that punching coach, weight coach, diet coach. That's pretty much it if you have the talent. But with UFC and MMA, it seems like you have to, if you want to be at your level, you have to have somebody at every point, with nutrition, with this, with that.
Yeah.
And that's a huge separation,
Yeah.
Take me through that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Go ahead.
I feel like I've cultivated, the best one, everyone probably says it, but the best team in the world. And I truly believe that. Yeah, I mean, my striking coach / MMA coach, Tim Welch, who's been my best friend for the last 10 years. We have a really good relationship. And then I have a jiu-jitsu coach, Augusto Tenquinho Mendez, one of the best grapplers in the world at my weight class, which even helps even more. Dan Garner, nutritionist, Brandon Harris, strength and conditioning coach. Yeah, I mean, I have such a good team that all my sparring partners and at the MMA Lab. So yeah, I have a really good team around me, and you have to be at this level.
We've had Bass running in a bunch of times, and I got pretty close with him. He thinks you're going to beat his striking record.
Boss, yeah.
Boss. I always say Bass. Boss.
Which one?
Which I don't even.
Yeah.
Which striking record's that?
I forget which one he has.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, no one could beat it but you. He was like, there's no one in the world that could beat it but him. So I mean, that's a big thing.
I'll try. Yeah.
Take me through that knockout with David Nuzzo. That was crazy.
Yeah, that one was right before the Contender series. Those first, I think it was second time, first time fighting in Arizona. That was a pro fight. I had fought amateur here, but yeah, David Nuzzo. It was LFA right before the Contender series fight, and that was pretty crazy. Head kick into a spinning back spinning wheel kick to the face, dropped him, put him out. Yeah, that's probably one of my favorite knockouts. It's gonna be hard to top that one.
Hey, Sean, one of my favorite fights with you was, and I'm going to butcher the last name, but Chris Motino, if I'm pronouncing his last name correctly. I mean, you beat the living shit out of that guy. And he would not give up. Like, there were points you're like, man, somebody needs to throw the white towel in already. Take me through that. I mean, you were on.
Yeah, that was Chris Moutinho, super tough dude. I was supposed to fight someone else, and like 2 weeks out, that guy got staph or something, and Chris Moutinho stepped up, and dude, I know I broke some records that night as far as significant strikes landed in a 3-round fight. That was crazy. That was my hands literally hurt for like 2 months after that, from punching him over and over in the face.
I mean, if your hands hurt, his face must have hurt. It probably still hurts.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if he still has a little headache from that. That was almost 2 years ago?
Yeah. Oh, my God.
And I always ask this, how do you train to take hits like that? Like in boxing, if you verse them, the guys are going down. But you guys can take hits like I have never seen, especially the leg kicks. I see that, and you don't go down. Other contenders don't go down. And I don't know how it's possible that you don't go down. How do you train for that? That you could take massive blows like that, or you dodge them, but it just looks like you're getting crushed by them? Or just maybe?
Yeah, I don't know if he really trained for getting hit in the head. I think just the better shape you're in, the better cardio you have, and honestly, probably the less times you've been hit in the head, the more shots you can absorb. And then there's some kids that are just stupid tough. Like, I don't really know how to describe it. Their brain doesn't shut off like that. Chris has just kept walking forward. His brain, I don't know. I don't know how some people just can. Look at Nate Diaz, still never really been knocked out, and he's been hit with everything. So some people just have that ability to absorb massive shots.
And then just going back a little bit, when you got on a spot with Dana White on the Contender 2 series, how did that feel for you? Coming from Montana, that's a big deal. Yeah, it was a big deal. Ever since I got into MMA, I was always off. I always kind of was delusional about my success. I always knew this was going to happen. I would tell people I'm going to get in the UFC. I'm going to be a star. Blah blah blah. You say it. I mean, the chances of that actually happening are very slim. And for whatever reason in my head, I knew it was going to be my reality. So yeah, getting on the Contender series was like the first step of, obviously getting into the UFC. I had to go out there and put on a performance. They announced that Snoop Dogg was going to be announcing, which helped, kind of start blowing up my social media. So yeah, I mean, getting on the Contender series was massive, and that was right after the David Nuzzo knockout. So I was going in there with a lot of confidence, and the kid I fought get into on the Contender series. The kid I fought was really good. He was 8-3 with 8 TKOs. So I knew I wasn't fighting a scrub, and yeah, went in there and just did what I had to do. This podcast is brought to you by Monster Energy. Tear into a can of the meanest energy drink on the planet, Monster Energy. It's the ideal combo of the right ingredients in the right proportion to deliver a big bad buzz that only Monster can. Monster packs a powerful punch, has a smooth, easy drinking flavor. Athletes, musicians, co-eds, road warriors, metalheads, geeks, hipsters, and bikers dig it. You will too. Monster Energy is more than just the green OG. Monster has Monster Ultra, Juice Monster, Monster Hydro, Rehab Monster, Dragon Tea, Monster Max, Muscle Monster, and many more. Buy on Amazon, buy on Walmart, or go to monsterenergy.com and believe me, you'll find a place. Unleash the beast. Monster Energy. This episode is brought to you by Let's Get Checked. Are you the man your father was? Recent studies have shown that men's testosterone levels have dropped substantially since the 1980s at about an average of 1% per year. Think about how old your father was when he was born. For example, if he was 30, your testosterone levels could be 30% lower than his. Low testosterone levels can have all types of health effects on men. It can affect your mood, sex drive, memory, muscle mass loss, you name it. And yes, low testosterone is more common the older you get, but it can affect men at any age. So let's talk about today's sponsor, Let's Get Checked. You can order a testing kit that will be delivered to you in a discreet packaging with next-day delivery. Once your sample arrives in the laboratory, confidential results will be available from your secure online account within 2 to 5 days. So, if you want to test your hormone levels without having to leave your home, visit trylgc.com/MSCS Media and get 25% off your test using the code MSCS Media. The link is in the description at the top. And then when you got in there, how did your fighting, training, and how did you have to evolve once you got to that point?
Yeah, at that point, I wasn't working with Brandon Harris. I didn't have a strength and conditioning coach. I didn't have a nutritionist. You don't really. I needed to evolve. I needed to find people around me that could help me continue to grow, and that's what we did. So it was an eye opener. I knew. Like I think I was like 22 years old getting into UFC. I wasn't necessarily ready to be in the UFC yet. I still had a lot of work to do, and I just continued to grind. And really the last 28 now, since I moved here when I was 18, last 10 years have just been a grind. I enjoy it. I love it. It's Monday, and I'm sitting in a hammock. It's beautiful out. It's noon. So I can't complain. I went and trained hard this morning. I'm going to come home, eat lunch, take a nap, train again this afternoon. So it's pretty much my life. Train, chill, train.
Did you, obviously, I'm sure you saw the Usman-Edwards fight. Do you think...
I did.
Was it just me or it looked like Edwards had a lot of fouls. I mean, he was like holding him against the fence, and then it comes down to the cards. Did you see it like that too, or am I seeing shit?
I mean, he held his gloves. It happens. I mean, you're in there in a fist fight, and there's sometimes that just happens. I mean, I fucking did it in my last fight on accident a couple times. You're in a fight. You're life or death. You grab a little something. I think that one, he got a warning. Then he got a point taken away. I think he was grabbing the fence. Getting a point taken away is huge in a fight. It's massive. So, I mean, even if he did do that, he still got a point taken away, and he still won. So, which is impressive. I thought Leon looked really sharp. I'm actually rewatching the fight. I'm only 2 rounds into it. I did want to rewatch it because I was in Montana this weekend helping a couple buddies fight, so I was watching on my phone and didn't get to watch it as closely as I wanted to. But the fact that he beat Kamaru Usman in a decision, it was super impressive.
And when you say, when a point's taken away, it could be deadly. In boxing, it's not that deadly. So could you explain the difference in UFC, how make or break that could be, no matter how good the fight is? Or how good you're fighting?
Yeah. In boxing, there's 12 rounds. Get a point taken away, still not great. But in MMA, there's 5 rounds. So that's if it's a title fight. If it's not, it's 3 rounds. So you get a point taken away, you automatically pretty much lose that round, or it's a tie. So yeah, just less rounds. Less room for mistakes. So yeah, getting a point taken away is not good, especially if you lose that round and get a point taken away. Now you're down 2 rounds.
And before, I'm going back to like the late 90s, early 2000s. I used to watch a lot of boxing. And whenever it came to the judges, the people that were involved back then, you would be like, no matter what it looked like, we're all down there with the jungle.
We got some money.
Yeah, we're all down there with the jungle juice, taking little bets.
Yeah.
And we're like, fuck it, please don't let it come to the judges. And then it goes to the judges, and you're like, is when a fight in the UFC comes down to a card, to a score, is it similar to that? Is it like worrisome as it was in boxing, or do you think not so much, or what are your thoughts on that?
I mean, the judges could definitely, they're human. They're going to get it wrong. It really comes down to their opinion on who won that round. It's still, what are they judging on, the criteria. I don't think it's. I mean, if you're saying like, or asking I think it's rigged at all. If there's anyone that has higher power that's going to kind of persuade it one way or the other, I don't think so. The athletic commission and the actual UFC have are completely two separate people. The athletic commission doesn't really care who wins. They have zero say in it. And I don't think the UFC has any say in that athletic commission hoping one fighter wins or not. So, I think it comes down to it's the judge's perspective, who they thought did more damage in each round. And yeah, I mean, they're definitely going to get it wrong sometimes. Refs, basketball, football get it wrong sometimes too. But yeah, it sucks. Too bad there's not, a robot that could judge it more fairly or something. But yeah, it's tricky.
Would you want that? Because I had seen that the MLB they're looking to put umpire robot umpire robots in 24. Would you want that in the UFC?
Wow. The umpire that'd be fair. That'd be good. In the UFC, it's hard. It's hard to say. Who knows how good they can get, but I think there just needs to be a different criteria or a more accurate criteria, and everyone's kind of on the same page for the UFC. Because I think it's still kind of like, what are they damage or what are they judging on? What's a takedown without any damage? It's still tricky, and I think it's still evolving. I do think it'll continue to get better. But at the end of the day, fighting it's hard to judge. There's some rounds that are so close, and you still have to pick a winner. Maybe there needs to be more draws and rounds. It is tricky. What's a hard leg kick versus like a jab that doesn't land very well, but it's still a headshot. So it's tricky. I think they'll continue to get better.
See, I like the human element of it. Like, even if you have a robot umpire or whatever, I don't know, just like growing up, it's human. You know what I mean? So for me, I don't want a robot in sports. Like, I want it to be human, and if they fuck up, they fuck up. You know what I mean? That's just me personally.
Yeah.
Yeah. See that?
What did you think of the Jones fight?
Yeah, John Jones versus Cyril Gahn. Yeah, I feel like light heavyweight John Jones, 205 John Jones could have went out there and did that. Again, like when I was talking about having high-level grappling and being able to wrestle at a high level, Gahn couldn't do that. Gahn didn't do that. Gahn got out-grappled by Francis. Gahn got taken down and submitted in less than 2 minutes against John Jones. So that's just what I was talking about. You have to be able to wrestle and grapple at a super high level, or else the guys at the top are just going to do what they want with.
This episode is sponsored by ZBiotics. What is ZBiotics pre-alcohol probiotic? The ZBiotics pre-alcohol probiotic is a genetically engineered probiotic you drink before drinking alcohol to avoid that rough next morning and get back to living your life. PhD scientists invented it because they know the real problem is not dehydration. It's a toxic byproduct of alcohol, and ZBiotics pre-alcohol probiotic is the only product that breaks it down. Just remember to drink responsibly and plenty of rest too. Every time I have ZBiotics before drinking, I'm amazed at how good I feel the next day. ZBiotics is a must-have for me because it means I'm still going to make my daily workout even if I have a few drinks the night before. That's important to me. You can get ZBiotics for 15% off your first order using my code MSCS Media at checkout. I recommend getting the 6-pack. That's what I got. It's a great deal. You have a couple extra to share with friends. Go to zbiotics.com/MSCS Media. That's Z as in zebra, biotics, BIOTICS.com/MSCS Media, or scan the QR code on the screen right now and get 15% off your first order. You will not be sorry. Link is in the description below.
Yeah.
Did you watch the boxing fight with Logan, right? I always get them mixed up.
No.
Jake,
Paul.
I always get Jake and Logan mixed up. Did you see the Paul and Fury fight?
I did watch that, yeah.
The only thing I thought that was off with that, I don't think that was the right ref for that fight, because they were two pretty much beginners in a way on that level, and he was kind of a little tough on them.
Yeah.
Now, do you think that was?
Yeah, I agree.
Fair?
I think the fight was scored fair. I thought, Jake did really good. Tommy's been boxing his whole life. Tommy looked like he edged it out, maybe. Jake did get that knockdown, which is huge. But again, there's, I think in that sense it was 8 rounds. But yeah, I think the ref sucked. It's like let him clinch up a little bit. Let him dirty box a little bit, even if they had to rest for a couple seconds. I mean, the ref I don't know what the hell he was doing. I thought the ref definitely sucked. But the fight. I thought the fight was good. It was entertaining. It wasn't like the most high level boxing match, but that's not why we were watching it. We were watching it because Jake Paul's a massive superstar, and they had beef. So I wasn't expecting the highest level boxing. It was a high level. I mean, it was good. I enjoyed it. I was competitive, and yeah, I'm a big fan of Jake.
Now, Sean? What do you think about speaking of Jake? What do you think about Floyd Mayweather approaching him down here after the Heat game? You think Floyd's just trying to get in on some of that money that Jake's been making, or what?
Yeah, I don't really know. I seen a couple clips of it. Jake, Floyd. I mean, I don't know if maybe Floyd just wanted to chit chat. Maybe Floyd understands the internet, understands content, understands. Maybe there's something there. Maybe I'd buy Jake versus Floyd. I'd watch it. So maybe his intentions were different. Maybe they were to hurt him. Maybe they were to beat him up. I can't imagine that. It's like he's not stupid. He knows there's cameras all around him. Maybe he was trying to punk him out. Maybe, I don't know. It's hard to say. I don't really hadn't been paying attention too much to it. I just kind of seen a video, but yeah.
And speaking of that, like exactly what you said, that's what I thought. I thought, well, he knows there's cameras around. This is going to make its rounds. How much of fighting now? It's a show, right? We get it, and it's a lot to it. How much of it is? I don't want to say staged, but like, okay, they're doing this just to get more people juiced up for it. Do you think it happens a lot? I mean, within the sport itself.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, there a lot of the beefs are real. Tommy Jake didn't like each other. Colby Jorge didn't like each other. Jorge socked him outside of the octagons, dealing with legal issues now. So all the beefs I feel like are real. TJ Dillashaw versus Cody Garbrandt hated each other. John Jones, Daniel Cormier hated each other. Mm-hmm. So there's definitely beefs. I mean, we're all alphas. We're all fighters. So it's not like the fights there's beef out there. I think there's very little fake stuff like behind the scenes, like Instagram. Hey, let's talk shit so we can sell a fight. I think there's very little of that. I think a lot of people are, I think fighters are just a little bit crazy. Well, you can't expect them to just behave like normal citizens everywhere we go. Some of us can, some of us, can't.
And any guys out there that, you, I guess maybe have still beef with, any assholes that you can talk about? I don't know if you want to throw anybody out there, but any guy that just gets under your skin the wrong way?
I'm pretty good at keeping business and my personal life out of everything, and then business. I'll build fights. I'll have some beef with whoever I'm fighting. Cause some interest. I understand the content game. I understand the entertainment value. I understand. And the thing is, I want, as a fan, I want someone causing beef. I want there to be a little extra. I've watched two guys fight that were no beef, lose interest. I don't really care who wins. You watch two guys that go back and forth, hate each other, talking shit, I'm interested. So when I have a fight, I don't have a fight schedule. There's no one really to talk shit to. But I stay, pecking at people. Henry Cejudo, Aljamain Sterling, me versus Cheeto will be a big rematch. Like I'll peck at people, almost more in a comedy way rather than like a super violent, physical, aggressive way. But it depends. I don't have a fight coming up, so if I was fighting someone. I was fighting Henry right now, maybe I'd call him short or something.
Do you have a dream opponent that you'd like to go against?
No, I never really. Not really. I don't really care to fight someone specific. More so right now, it's just who's next, Henry or Aljo. Whoever wins that's who I want to fight. I want to fight whoever the title at that point.
When you were coming up, did you have, I was playing basketball when I was a kid, so obviously I looked up to Jordan. Was there somebody that you had looked up to, like a role model that you kind of took after?
I didn't really start watching the UFC until, I was like 18, 19, until I moved to Phoenix. Like I was kickboxing. I really didn't care about UFC or bar. I didn't watch it. I just liked the sport. I just liked competing in it. I didn't watch I didn't watch it. So when I started watching, Conor was just getting into the UFC. He was like just fighting Max Holloway, and I remember liking Conor, like the way he talked, like the way he, brought interest to the fight. So definitely Conor.
He did. For me, Connor got me interested because, like I said, I was a boxing guy. But when Connor started coming around, he really, to me, he really gave a lot of life to the UFC. And then you'd be like, who is this guy?
Yeah.
And then you watch him, like, oh shit, he's no
Yeah.
joke. How do you think he'll come back?
Yeah, 100%. He's fighting Michael Chandler. I think it's a really good matchup for him. Orthodox guy who throws hooks. Like he's fought, 10 plus people that have that similar style. Michael Chandler's no joke though. Like he's not an easy fight by any means. But it is a good matchup for Connor. Being a huge Connor fan, I'd love to see Connor go out there and get the job done. I'm also a fan of Michael Chandler though, so it's tricky, but it's hard. I love Connor, so I'd love to see him, continue to win and keep fighting because we don't know how many more fights we're going to get with Connor.
Yeah, and as a fighter at your level, when you have that injury like Connor had, how hard is that to come back? And then being that you use pretty much every part of your body in UFC, do you think he can come back like he was, or do you think there's going to be, you'll notice it? I mean, he's working hard. I mean, he got jacked.
Yeah, I mean, he's not in the USADA pool. USADA obviously does random drug testing, and he's technically retired. He's out of the pool, so he hasn't been getting tested. He's basically said he's on steroids to completely heal that bone.
Sure.
And so, yeah, I think, as a championship mindset, I think he's going to come back and be fine. I think he's taken the right steps and the steps necessary to heal an injury like that. So I think as far as the injury itself goes, he probably has the best people in the world to make sure that thing heals right. And yeah, I think he'll be all right. I think he's come back and it's gonna act like it never happened.
And how did you get the name Suga?
There you go.
How'd you get that name?
Yeah, so my first MMA coach, Johnny Aho in Helena, Montana. You had to be on the team for 6 months, and then after that, he'd give you a nickname. At first, it was Spider. And I was like, "Hey, coach, no offense, that's not it. I don't like that one." He said, "All right, let me think of something else." So then he said Sugar, and I was like, "All right, how come?" And he said, "Because I was so sweet to watch fight." I'm like, "All right, I like that one." So yeah, because I was so sweet to watch fight, that's how I got the name Sugar.
Now, when you're standing there getting ready, you have your entrance music, you come down, crowd's going crazy, and you're standing there and you're waiting, and then Bruce Buffer comes in and he does his whole thing. What is that? Are you paying attention to that? Are you into it? Is he psyching you up? Because I watch it, I'm like, yeah, here we go. Like, what does it do for you? Nothing?
Yeah. Calm as a cucumber.
Yeah.
I'm ready. When I'm in the octagon, I'm pretty much emotionless. I'm very, very aware of my breath, very aware of, how my feet feel on the canvas. And I'm very calm. I mean, if you ever watch me walk out or standing in the octagon before the fight, I'm very calm. I get into a very good flow state in the back. I'm that whole day, I'm just very aware of my breath, and it's, it's an interesting day. It's a long day. Like my last fight, I fought like 10:30 at night, and it's a long day to wait around. But yeah, as far as in the octagon, Bruce Buffer announcing me, very calm.
And I saw on Instagram you were using a breathing thing. Can you pull that up?
Yep.
You were using that breathing balloon, and Boss, he has his O2 trainer. What does that do for you? Like, how much does that really help? And like, how does that work?
I just recently started using it, so I don't know. We'll see. Brandon Harris got me at my strength and conditioning coach. We're always trying to figure out, how to get better, just even if it's a little bit. Even if it's just a little bit better, or at the top, it's that little thing. If that can give me a little bit of an advantage, I'll do it. So yeah, it's just been recently using it and kind of expanding my lungs, expanding my diaphragm, and it's kind of like being able to work out without being on your joints and stuff. So yeah, just every little tool we can use. I basically have a recovery center in my house, my sauna, my cold plunge, my red light. I got a PEMF machine. I got I pretty much just got all my recovery tools and try to recover as fast and as good as possible for my next workout.
How long can you handle the cold plunge? I'm working my way up, but how long can you handle that for?
I'll never go over 3 minutes.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll do rounds, but I never really go over 3 minutes. I think they say like you get the benefits, the physical benefits from like the inflammation in the body, the physical benefits at 2 minutes. Anything after is kind of mental. So yeah, I never go over 3 minutes. But yeah, some people say they sit there for 10 minutes and shit. I'm like, no, you don't. And it's probably like
Yeah,
50
right.
degrees.
Yeah.
I have mine down at like 40, 39 degrees. So yeah, I never go over 3 minutes.
Oh.
And like I saw you have your clothing line. What got? I think that was brilliantly smart because you see a lot of you can't fight forever, and with your
Right.
popularity and you're different than everybody else. I mean that couldn't have been a better move. What got you to start that? And then how much of a pain in the ass is it to develop it and pick what you want on there and so on and so forth?
When I was 16, 17 years old, my kickboxing, when I started kickboxing, I was, selling old school Suga merch. So it's been something I've been passionate about for, since I started fighting. I always thought it'd be cool to have, merch, fighter merch. And then I eventually started getting into like, well, I want it to be more fashionable. I don't want it to be like it just looks like a typical fighter shirt. So I want to move into more fashion and stuff like that. So we've been doing that for, over 2 years now. It's been very successful. I enjoy it. It's not really a pain in the ass at all. I work with a company in LA called Killer Merch who, helps with the designs and takes care of the shipping and the customer service and all that stuff. So, it's not a pain in the ass at all. I enjoy it. I enjoy trying to come up with the color waves. My girl Danny, she's super passionate about it too and helps a ton. She has a good eye for fashion and you know, it's summer, so we're not going to be selling as many hoodies and shit like that. Shit I don't think about, she thinks about. And yeah, it's really fun. It's it's been very lucrative. I've made a lot of money being able to do that. And like you said, I'm not able to fight forever. The Suga brand can live on forever. That's kind of the goal. I want it to be eventually where someone goes into a store and you see Suga and they think the brand's cool. They like the clothing, the fashion, and I want it to outgrow me and be bigger than just Sugar the fighter.
Yeah, so when you're done fighting, it still lives on. We're looking at it now on the screen. What's some of your best sellers, or what's some of your favorite things that you have on there?
Yeah, some of my favorite things. Every fight for the last probably 6 or 7 fights, I do a custom jersey. So every fight camp, I'll do a color wave. The last one was this orange and cream colors, and I always wrap all my cars.
Awesome,
Whatever the
cool.
color wave is for that fight camp. So the jerseys are my favorite. We do limited edition, 200 of the jerseys, and those are my favorites. Last time we did this Letterman's jacket for that last fight camp, this orange one. I really really liked that. We just dropped this gray hoodie and sweats and a hat. Really like that. The brown Sugar merch, like this a sweatsuit style. I really like that. So it's hard to pick one. Um, I've done a couple robes that I really like. I did this Christmas robe, the white with the red and green. Um, yeah, it's hard for me to pick one. I really like everything that we put out.
I like the sweatsuit because like for when you're home and you're just hanging out because it's hard. I don't think Adidas is. I see everybody wearing this Adidas shit and everything else. Your sweatsuit's comfortable as hell. And when you're around the house
Oh, I
and
appreciate that.
oh, sure it is. And that's sugashop.co. And you got everything. You got footwear, bottoms, coffee cups. You got everything on there, man.
Yeah.
I mean, that's awesome. When I see that, I
Yep.
like, not that it's anything for me, but I mean, I'm just proud of you that you're not just fighting and blah, blah, blah. Like, you're taking your name and like you're doing something with it. And your coach who gave you the sugar, I mean, you can't forget that.
Yeah, no, sure. Yeah, Johnny Aho, he's a legend. Yeah, love that dude.
What's some of the things outside, and we'll have all this in the description and it will pop up, where this is at. But what are some of the things you like outside of training and fighting? I mean, I know you don't have much time, but when you do have time and you just need a break, what are some things that you like?
Yeah, I mean, time. I got a lot of time. I trained for trained for an hour and a half this morning. I've got nothing to do till like 4 p.m. So I got a lot of time. It's nice on certain days that Danny's mom, I have a little daughter. She's 2.5.
Oh, mine
We
too.
have
I got a two and a
her
half
mom's our
too.
nanny. Oh, right on. So that takes up a lot of the time. But on days like Mondays and Tuesdays when Danny works, Elena's at her grandma's. So I'm just chilling. I like Arizona's beautiful out right now. I come outside, stretch. I game a couple hours here and there. I haven't really been gaming as much just because I'm getting ready for maybe a fight. Aljamain Sterling and Henry Cejudo are fighting, and if one of those guys pull out, I'm going to step up and take that fight. So I'm pretty much in fight camp right now. It's just, I'm not doing a whole lot, sitting outside, stretching. I'm gonna I'm gonna start building. I just bought some land behind my house, so I'm gonna start building this warehouse. It's gonna be kind of like the Fantasy Factory, Rob Dyrdek's Fantasy Factory,
Oh, really?
the Suga Factory. I'm gonna have a full size octagon in there,
That's awesome.
a foam pit, a little entertainment area to watch the fights with the boys, a couple of offices, and I'm in the process of talking to the general contractor and the architect and doing stuff like that right now.
Damn, you're doing all that while you're possibly getting ready to fight. If you get into that fight, when do you think that will be? Will they push it back, or when you know?
It's May 6th, so it's probably like a little over 7 weeks out right now. I can't imagine either of those guys pulling out.
Yeah.
Uh, they both need some cheddar, so I think they're gonna, even if they are hurt, they'll just get to the fight just so they can get paid. So I can't imagine either of them pulling out. But yeah, I just got to stay ready just in case. I'd hate to miss that opportunity.
Now we talked a lot about it a little bit before, but what do you think is the most important trait for a successful fighter in the UFC?
Inside like attributes, like the actual physical fighter itself, I'd say speed. Speed. It's hard to say. Cardio is king, but I'd say speed. Speed is very, very tricky, very hard to deal with when someone's really fast and you can't get a hold of them. You can't get them up against the cage. Speed's probably number one.
Speed, right?
Yeah. Hey, I got a quick question for you, Sean. You got a lot of MMA fighters down here in South Florida, train down here, live down here. Gilbert Burns, Poirier,
Yep.
Nogueira. His brother has a place in Jupiter, Florida. Here, when it comes to the different areas, where do you? I mean, I guess it doesn't. It depends, but some of the best fighters or best trainers. I mean, all over the place. Any specific place where people go?
I think Florida's got too many hot chicks. I couldn't train down there. Too distracting.
Too distracting.
We'll be able to do it.
I live in Peoria, Arizona, like 40 minutes away from Scottsdale, hour away from Tempe. I live out in the old folks area, and it's just too easy to get distracted. So I just avoid, being around it.
Yeah, no, I get it. And then, you talk about, you have a daughter. Tommy has a daughter. I have two teenage boys. We talk about this kind of all the time, nowadays with kids and all the bullying shit that goes on and things like that. Me and Tommy always say, like, teach your kid to not take shit, stand up for yourself, right? And maybe a lot of this bullying could go away. Do you think kids should be involved at a young age in MMA and things like that so they're not pushed around per se?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, even if, I think even if kids that turned out to be bullies started doing jiu-jitsu and learning all that stuff at a young age, that might even prevent kids from being bullies, not even just being bullied. Yeah, jiu-jitsu, in my opinion, is the best sport in the world. Everyone can do it. Girls can get good out of it. You don't have to be super athletic. You can, it's not just an athletic sport. You can just be smart and kind of get good at certain styles. So yeah, I think it's super important. Kids get into jiu-jitsu at an early age, or at least eventually. You don't even, I mean, adults start it when they're 35, 40 years old. I think it's important. But as far as kids go, yeah, I think it's important. Just being around a good community too. Yeah, that jiu-jitsu is huge, and Elena's definitely gonna start jiu-jitsu when she's probably 4 or 5.
Do you think it would help solve some of the problems we have nowadays with kids and all the shit that happens?
Yeah, I don't even know. Like, well, all that shit that happens, I guess I might be out of the loop a little bit. I don't really. I mean, I don't know. I don't really. I don't know. I do have a daughter. She's 2.5, but she stays with her. She plays with her cousins and stuff. So she hasn't really started going to school or anything.
I'm just saying, like in school, how kids, it's. I mean, there's always been bullying per se, or kids getting picked on, but just how ruthless it is now with social media, and if a kid learned how to stand up
Yeah.
for themselves, maybe not have as many problems.
No, yeah, I totally agree. Totally agree.
I'm still trying to figure out what is considered bullying. You know what I mean? They call everything bullying. Everything's this. Everything's that. It's better that you don't know.
Yeah, right? Yeah, I don't know. I think I'm gonna let Danny kind of decide. I think Elena will go to a semi-private school around here, and
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, getting having your kids around a good group of kids is super important, but it's hard to kind of pick and choose when it comes to that.
How good was Peter? Am I saying his name right?
Yeah.
I'm horrible with names. Jan.
Yeah.
How good was Peter Jan? We, number one contender. We weren't in the ring, but how good was he?
Yeah, Peter Yan he was the number one guy in the world for a reason. He was considered, he was arguably the champ at the time. He had beat the champ, lost because he beat him illegally, but was whooping him. Fought a close fight again to the champ and lost that fight. So yeah, I mean he's super skilled. One of the scariest guys in the division. I really good kickboxer, Muay Thai, good grappler, all well rounded everywhere. And I just had really good preparation, really good training camp for that fight. Got the job done.
And you had some tough fights, man. Even what is it? I'm bad with Tyrone Ware. Rare.
Carry on.
Tyrone Ware for the promotional debut. How was that one?
Yeah. Yeah, that was an interesting fight. Terry Ware, UFC debut. Again, still hadn't been working with Dan Garner, still hadn't met Brandon Harris, so my strength and conditioning was lacking. My nutrition was definitely lacking. I wasn't eating, wasn't eating quality food, wasn't eating good, was young. I was like 22, 23 years old. Still learning a lot. Yeah, that was a very close fight. I won the first round. He won the second round, then I dug deep and pulled out the third round. And yeah, it was a really fun fight. It was very entertaining. I enjoy going back and watching that fight and watching a young Suga, do what I needed to do to get the job done.
Yeah, you have the drive like the Kobe Bryants of the world. Like Kobe was just an animal. I used to go to LA to watch him all the time.
Yeah.
And he was just an animal. And Jordan, you don't see much of it now. You see these guys taking off all the time. They stub their pinky and they don't play for 3 games or, whatever the issue is. But, just those 2 fights alone, that's just at some point you can have all the conditioning you want. But if you don't have the drive, there's no way you can withstand it. And you did,
Yeah.
100%. Now you built
that last fight, I got to show my heart.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Now you built a lot of this fame around yourself. How have you been able to handle it, or like how much of a pain in the ass has it been with the good?
You just gotta learn how to say no. I gotta be in Arizona. I gotta be trying and I gotta be grinding. I can't be going. I met a lot of cool people. I've the Nelk boys, Logan and Jake Paul. Like I have a lot of opportunities to go and fuck around and have fun. But at the end of the day, that's not gonna get me to be a world champion. And I got probably about 10 more years of grinding and becoming as good as I possibly can become. So there's ups and downs. The ups are I get paid more. I have bigger brand deals. I can sell more merch. Like there's good things about it. The cons is just I guess I just have to be more disciplined and saying no and just staying home and doing what I need to do, which is train and recover and train.
And is that how you handle some of the criticism, which I thought was bullshit, but just the criticism, the kind of, I guess you would say, hating on you? You know what I mean? Some of the criticism that you got, you just ignored it and stayed away from all the bullshit. That was kind of your play with it.
Yeah, I mean, you learn that once you start getting popular on social media, you can go. There's not one person in this world that doesn't have hate. Like even if the best person in the world, the nicest person in this world, is gonna be hated on. So as long as I know at the end of the day I'm a good person, I'm a dad, I'm a family guy. I don't. I think if I was genuinely a bad person and I read some comments and they might nag at you, but they don't bother me because they're not real. Like I see a lot of people say I try to be like Connor. I try to do, I don't know. A lot of the negative stuff, yeah, it really
Trolls.
doesn't bother me just because it's not true. Yeah.
Yeah, just ignore it. I never read the comments. I turn them off. I turn them the fuck off because what? Because
Yeah.
yeah, because sometimes like let's just say I went and read through them, and usually I could care less. But maybe I'm having a bad day, and then I read some comment, and then I'll change everything over some idiot that might be a robot or some fat ass guy who's eating a big bag of
Right.
potato chips and nut huggers that with a hairy belly. And here I am going to change everything in the
Yeah.
studio and everything, and here I am talking to you, but because some fat ass said something in a comment on a bad day, it will get to me. So I just said the hell with it and turned them off. Now one.
Smart. Yeah. I mean, that's good.
And I'll never get it. I mean, we just named some monster fights. Some of the things before they were saying that the UFC was protecting you. How the hell was the UFC protecting you?
I mean, if you look at it, at the end of the day, their business, they want to make money. They want people that are potential superstars to win fights. At the end of the day, I have to go out there and win the fights. They can, people can say what they want. Again, doesn't really affect me. I fought, some really good guys. Thomas Almeida was a tough opponent. Eddie Wineland was tough. There's tough guys, but yeah, I mean, it's just people's opinions.
Do you think, what are your weight cuts like? And do you think you'll go up in weight at some point? Or do you think you'll stay where you're at now? What are you, like 135 ish?
Yeah, I fight at 135. I'm about 157, 158. Weight cuts they suck. They're never fun. They're horrible. I got offered a certain amount of money to weigh in for this next fight for the title fight, just to be a backup fighter in case something happens. And I said no. You know, it's not worth that. That weight cut is way too miserable to cut and not have a fight. So they're not. If I was broke or if I needed money, I would definitely do it. But I'm in a good spot right now to where I don't have to weigh in just to make some money. Yeah, because they're way too hard. They're way too hard to weigh in, and I only have a certain amount of weigh-ins I have left to before I do move up to 45. So yeah, I'll move up to 45 eventually someday, but I definitely need to go get my title first.
Now take us through, if you don't mind, just so people know some of that, like the hell. Like what do you have to do when you have to do a weight cut, whether it's 10 pound, whatever it may be? Like how does the daily schedule change and just the hell of it?
Um, a lot of it's just dieting for 8 weeks. You're just kind of dieting, getting your weight down, like walk around like 158. Fight week, I'll diet down all the way into I'll be like 150. And then I'll probably cut like 10 to 12 pounds in like 24 hours. It's pretty average. I mean, it's pretty average for most fighters to kind of go through it.
And how do you cut that quick without wanting to, jump off a bridge?
Well, you just want to jump off a bridge, you just don't do it. No, you got a water load, yeah, there's as much science as you can to do. Dan Garner, the nutritionist, helps me do all of that. It just sucks. It's not fun. There's really no way to explain it other than it sucks.
And you have like that it factor that makes you a superstar or whatever you want to call it. What do you think it is in your mentality that makes you that way, that separates you from other people?
It's a good question. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I think it comes down to my performances. I do have a lot of sweet knockouts. People like that, So I think it comes down to that. I do think the crazy hair, my personality. Just I try to be honest and truthful and people, can tell. And it comes down to those two things: just being myself and knocking people out.
Where did the hair come from? The coloring. Where did you decide to start? I'm gonna dye my hair, and how do you figure what colors you're gonna do? I guess.
I think the first time I decided to dye my hair was probably inspired by Tekashi 6ix9ine, honestly. And I did the rainbow hair. I think that's kind of what his was, and that was the first time. I actually haven't had my normal, just natural hair color since then. I've always had it some kind of color. But yeah, people like it. Again, it wraps around to the merch. We do it around the merch too, and when we have fights coming up, and like certain holidays, we'll kind of go with that. And yeah, people, I like it. I feel like when I have my hair, when my hair is fucking pink, it's like I can't really take myself too serious. Life's, can't take life too serious, so it helps with that.
I think it's an attraction.
Yeah,
when I see you getting ready or in the ring, even before like, we knew we were going to talk to you, it's like you look at you more. It's just the bottom line. Like you look at you more. And it does make it exciting rather than two guys. No, not taking anything away from anyone, but I don't know. For me, it makes it more exciting.
And I got to ask this. It's probably a stupid question, but I'm going to ask it anyway. And Tommy probably knows the answer to it. I sit there, I watch UFC, I watch boxing. I've never boxed. I've never been in the MMA ring. And my kids and me watch it. And, you guys come out, right? And then you stand there for a second, you take off your pants, you get ready. And the guy comes over and he slides on the, like, Vaseline almost, I guess it is. Why?
Yeah.
What is that for? Why?
Cuts. Getting cut.
But when you're, but when you're coming out, like before you even start the fight, they they check your gloves, I guess, to make sure there's nothing in there.
Yeah.
And then they rub the shit on your face. Is that so the hands slip off right away and they don't break, or what?
I think it's to prevent cuts.
Oh,
maybe.
prevent.
I'm honestly not too sure.
Yeah, I always wondered that watching it. Yeah.
But I could be fucking wrong. I don't know.
I always wondered that.
And explain to people how, because you don't realize it, you don't think it. When you get hit with, it's worse to get hit with a boxing glove than the gloves that you guys wear, right?
I mean, they're probably pretty similar. I think boxing gloves are almost like, I think you can wrap your hands a lot harder, and it's almost like a cast under the boxing gloves.
Yeah.
But I mean, boxing gloves, 8 ounces, MMA gloves, like 2.5, 3 ounces. There's not a ton protecting your hands on either, really, but I'd say they're pretty similar. But yeah, I don't know.
And when you kick the shit out of somebody, when you're done and you win, does your leg hurt like hell, or how to? There's this weight. It does. So when you see when you kick somebody and their head goes completely the other direction, and you keep going for another couple of rounds, when the adrenaline's done, it's killer. It was like a shin splint? Hard to walk.
Yeah, it's way worse than a shin splint. It's hard to walk. It hurts. Your feet, your shins, your knees, everything. You feel everything. It's horrible.
And how after a fight for you, the way you do it and you got the best around you on a hard fight, how long does it take till you kind of feel normal again?
It depends. Like my shins have hurt for, easily. My shins have been like a deep bruise for 2 months to where you can't even kick a bag. You can't kick pads. You can't do shit for, you can't even hardly grapple. So there's been times where the soreness kind of goes away, but there's deep bruises that really hurt. They'll stick around for a couple months.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you. And a guy at your level, I mean, you're almost at the top. I'm sure you will be. Do you ever really go into a fight where there's nothing hurting?
Rarely. I would say that last fight against Peter Yan, I was pretty much 100%.
Wow.
I would say I was. Yeah, I felt really good at a really good fight camp for that. Nothing really hurt.
That's because you got killer guys around you.
Yeah.
Because we've had a lot of UFC guys in, and most there's something that had happened, or the fight wasn't that far apart where there's still something that fucking hurts when you go in there. So I mean, especially after that one, after Yawn.
Yeah.
Jeez, bro. You're like,
Yeah, I hurt for a while.
Are you an alien or some shit? You believe in you think
No,
you think those UFOs are real?
Probably. I don't know. It's. I mean, it's fun to think about,
Yeah.
but I would say probably if I had to guess. But I also, I'm a fighter for a reason.
Yeah.
Not the smartest.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Yeah.
you can still talk and you can say a full sentence. So I mean, you're
So
pretty
far.
smart so far.
You got a lot of guys. You got a lot of guys coming up. All the time in the MMA world. Tommy and me are both from Pennsylvania, so there's a guy that he's new, I guess newer, and I like watching him. Is that Bo Nickel? Anybody you see coming up that you kind of like yourself, and they may be the future along with yourself of the UFC?
Yeah, I think Bo Nickel is a huge prospect. He's an elite level grappler. He's very confident. He's young. I think if he's gonna fight any higher level competition, he needs to be grinding. He needs to just literally be in the gym. Doesn't need to be traveling. Can't be eating the way he's eating. He's got to be eating good. If you're not eating good, you can't train hard. You're gonna get injured. So I think Patty has potential, but I just don't know if he's doing the right work that needs to be put in. That's where I'm confident and can say I've been doing everything right. I've been doing the steps that I need to become that superstar. But yeah, I don't know. I personally don't watch UFC a ton. I don't really pay attention to the fights. I watch the bigger fight cards, or if it's an important fight for my division, I'll watch that. But it's people. No one's really standing out right now, or I'm just not seeing it because I'm so focused on myself.
And then what goes into I compare. I love football, right? Coach youth football, nothing to a major scale, but
Nice.
You game film for football. I go at you're studying your opponent. You're seeing things. How much time are you putting in with film study? Along with your grappling, along with your diet, along with how much film study goes into it?
Not a ton. Definitely a little bit. I'll watch their last couple of fights.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of look for some tendencies, but Tim watches a little bit too. He'll watch, and then we'll kind of do some things around it, but not a whole lot, not a ton. The bigger the fights go, the more we'll definitely watch, but.
Mm-hmm.
Some people really, really just study it, and I kind of go in there, have an idea of what they want to do, but I kind of just think of it more of as a flow and just, yeah. So a little bit.
See, the thing with the UFC, this episode is brought to you by Fiji. More than just water.
This is not just rock. It's ancient volcanic rock that filters tropical rain, giving it double the electrolytes and its signature soft, smooth taste. It's not just water, it's Fiji water.
See, in boxing and other sports like that, you can watch that tape and get a really good grip of how the person's going to be, whatever it is. But in the UFC, because you can use so many different weapons, even if you sat there, now, not me, but I would think that you could sit there and study that tape, and that time that you're wasting studying the tape and not training, the guy that you're about to fight, he's going to switch up his whole style so that you don't know, because he can use his legs, his hands, the grappling, everything.
Yeah, some guys don't really have the ability to do that. They've fought for the last 10 years the same way. They're really good at 1-2 double leg. They're not going to go in there and stand southpaw and start doing too much different stuff. So a lot of the guys at the top, are kind, especially, some of the guys that are more wrestle heavy, they're not really going to do too much different. You can watch film and get a good idea of how they're going to react. So it depends. Someone like me who's very unpredictable and switches stances a lot, I have a lot of different setups. I have a lot of different techniques. I would be a little bit more trickier, I would say, to film study compared to some wrestlers. So yeah, everyone's different. But yeah, I mean, some people really don't have much options other than to do what they know how to just do what they always do.
Yeah, your stance is always different. Your stance is always different in there, always different. I remember there was there was another guy, and before he got to the UFC, he was like a, what do you call that shit when you dance and make your feet clap?
No, like an Irish.
Yeah, some Irish thing, but
Capoeira.
yeah. He was doing that, and when he would fight, he was tough because his feet were just going crazy, and you could never predict that. How important are feet that people don't think about other than getting kicked by one in fighting, especially at your level?
Yeah, footwork is huge. I mean, you could compare it to like a wide receiver in the NFL. How good are they at running routes? You know, that matters a lot at that position. You got to be able to juke, go one way, do this, do that, and be unpredictable. So yeah, footwork is a huge part in fighting.
And what are some of the biggest lessons you've learned so far in your career from being in the octagon?
Biggest lessons I've learned,
or meaning maybe what are some things you've had to change to get to this level, other than that everybody knows? Just like, what are some things that throughout your experience that you had to change, or you decided to change, and that you learned, okay, well, if I do this, this might be better than this?
Yeah, I'd say just being more disciplined in just life in general. Not eating too close to bed, not overeating, not eating too much sugar, not surfing on your phone too much, not doing stuff that's going to give you anxiety. Probably just being more disciplined in every aspect in life, not just to become a better fighter, but just be a better person. So I just discipline for sure.
And I think if you put 100,000 people in here and we said, hey, Sean lives in Arizona because it's nice and quiet and relaxed with older people, that I bet you 1 out of the 100,000 would believe that. You know what I mean? But that's what makes you so great.
Yeah, I think, if you just look at my social media, you just kind of see me from that perspective. I look, looks a lot different than my actual life. I don't do much. If you want to be world champ, you want to be the best in the world at something, your life's not going to be that exciting. And I train, chill, train. There's times I will go out randomly out, and it'll be like closer to after a fight. But for the most part, yeah, I'm not doing a whole lot.
How hard is it to have a relationship as a fighter?
My relationship with Danny has been, I've known her for about 8 years. We've been together. It's better than not having someone. She definitely helps me stay more disciplined. She keeps me grounded. Obviously, having Elena too keeps me grounded. It makes it easier to stay home and not kind of have that urge to go out, that urge to go do something. So I'd say it's been massive in my success.
Isn't that funny? No matter how much they drive us nuts, we know that without them, we'd be off the. Well, I know me, I'd be off the handle. I mean, I would probably be in Vegas right now spending all my money or God knows what, but I know if I did, I'll get killed when I get home. You know what I mean? And here you are at the top of your game, because you get tempted, but then you're like, is it worth it? Is it worth the shit when I get back? You know what I mean?
And Sean, for some kids growing up, watching you, like I said, I got a 13-year-old and a 16-year-old. My 13-year-old, when he found out we were interviewing you, was going crazy at the house.
Oh, boy.
Oh, my dad's going to be interviewing Sugashop. What's your message to maybe some of those kids, that do get into fighting and jiu-jitsu and all that type of stuff, to look forward to, or if they want to make it, what they should be doing with their lives?
Yeah, I would say just consistently go to the gym, even on the days you don't want to, just go. You got to stay consistent, or else someone else is going to be more consistent. They're going to pass you up. So I say consistency is the biggest thing. Going even when you don't want to, would be my advice.
And I know it's hard to think ahead, but do you have any ideas in your head or goals in your head, maybe even starting now or after fighting, that you want to do, like a university type of thing, or what do you want to open up or do? what do you see yourself doing in 10 years, however long?
Yeah, I don't know. I think I'm on the next 10 years I'll probably just keep doing what I'm doing right now, just focusing on me and improving. Maybe I know Tim's kind of enjoying coaching right now. He has a couple fighters, some amateur guys, a couple low-level pros. Right now that I could see myself kind of tagging along there and being playing a coach role, after fighting, and just kind of staying in the sport. I'm going to continue to do jiu-jitsu until I can't. So, but yeah, I would assume, in the next 10 years, I'll have a couple kids, maybe 2-3 kids, and, just who knows what the world's going to be like in 10 years. Hard to say.
You ain't lying about that. I think you'd be an awesome coach because you're so calm. And I'm telling you, when people see this, they're going to lose their mind because you're so calm and down to earth and just a motherfucker of a fighter.
Yeah.
Thank you, brother.
Yeah, and you got your YouTube, your Instagram, your TikTok, your Twitter, your Facebook. Are you gonna expand the YouTube anymore? Do you want to put more on there? Do you want to do more with that, or like do you have any more goals with that, or anything coming up that would surprise people on social media? Even though I hate social media to death, but we all have to use it. Or I might hate it because I'm with a girl that can't seem to get her phone out of her hand, but.
Oh, yeah, that'll happen. No, we dropped 2 podcasts.
This episode is brought to you by Manscaped.com. Breaking news, Manscaped now sells beard products. That's right, they are once again revolutionizing men's grooming with brand new Beard Hedger Pro Kit. From a beard trim to a fresh shave, the technology behind Beard Hedger Pro Kit allows you to shave your signature beard look. Now you can finally use Manscaped products to make your drapes match your carpet by going to manscaped.com and using code MSCS Media for 20% off and free shipping. No one likes a weird beard, so say goodbye to all the stubble trouble with Manscaped's Pro Beard Kit. It all starts with the Beard Hedger. This thing is a monster of fixing faces. First off, this cordless trimmer has a rotary wheel that gives you 20 hair cutting lengths, all with one guard. No more messing around in drawers, this color one, that color one, all with one guard. Plus, it's waterproof, so you can shave in the shower and avoid all that hair in the sink. The Pro Kit doesn't end there, though. First, there's the beard shampoo and conditioner. You need to remember your hair is different. Next, Manscaped's beard oil. Cap it off with beard balm. The Pro Kit also comes with 3 different gifts: a beard brush, comb, and scissors to ensure your beard is ready to impress. So get 20% off and free shipping with the code MSCS Media at manscaped.com. That's 20% off and free shipping at manscaped.com. Use the code MSCS Media. Manscaped Beard Hedger, 1 stroke, 1 guard, 20 lengths. Link is in the description below.
A week I drop up Timbo Sugar Show once a week, and then the Bro Malley Show I do a podcast with my brother once a week.
Oh, cool.
And then we'll drop some reaction videos when there's big fights coming up. I vlog randomly. I'll have my guy come over, and if I'm doing anything interesting, I'll vlog it. I'll throw that on YouTube. Not really. My number one concern and main focus is always training. It's always going to be training. And then all the social media stuff is just to make extra money. I make more money doing that than I'm about to not be able to say that. But for a while there, I was making more money on doing all this stuff more than fighting. But new contract, I won't be able to say that anymore, but it's a good thing.
And you have one brother, you said?
I have 2 brothers, but I just do a podcast with one of them.
What was that like growing up? Do you guys fight all the time? Are you the youngest, middle child? What are you?
Middle child. It was good. We were just competitive, always playing sports against each other.
And what do you have coming out next on the Sugashop? Because I love it. I'm telling you that is